Right, hi. It's part 2 of modifying your cam chain tensioner for the GSXR frozen K5-6. It also applies to the K7 and 8. First you have to set the cam chain tensioner correctly. It will be like that. You need to reset it to put it back on the block. If you put it back on the block like that, it's no good. You're going to damage the threads. It won't be able to do it up. You will strip the threads, and this will be too tight in the engine. Net result, you'll mess your motor up completely. So you have to set this to the position for reinstalling the tensioner to the back of the engine. If you push up the little claw, push the ratchet right back in. With the ratchet, the plunger right back in now, look, it's right back. That's right out. Set it right back. That is now ready to go on the back of the block. Replace the gasket. Put this back on the block. It's held in with the 2 Allen bolts. I'm sure there's a proper torque setting for them. I'm guessing about 8 to 10 foot-pound maybe. You won't get a torque wrench in there. There's not enough room on the back of the engine to really get in there. So just do them up tight, nice and tight. Don't over tighten them. They're only small bolts. That would then be fixed to the back of the engine. Replace the spring with a new one. Push the spring all the way in. There is a recess for the spring to fit in. Now it's the fitting of the ball bearing. The ball bearing goes into the cap. Don't forget to replace the washer. The ball bearing is fitted into here, into the cap. There's a little recess there. It'll sit nicely. Make sure it's in there properly. And now you replace the cap with the ball bearing in, with the washer. Push it in. It's a bit fiddly. There you go. The cap's on now. Wind that one back. And as you wind in this bolt in, this cap, you will possibly hear the tensioner clicking forward and setting against the cam chain. This is normal. To up the cap, same again. There is probably a torque setting for it. In fact, I know there is. I never bother. Just nip it up. It hasn't got to be hugely tight. Just nip up the cap and you're done. It's as simple as that. Start the bike up gently. Just let it tick over. And you may find that it will click a bit more. Like that. And that should sort your rattle out. There's nothing wrong with the tensioners. It's not a bad design. The design is good. It's simple. It is reliable. It's a spring. What is the weakness? And your rattle should be fixed. I replaced my tensioner. Oh, I don't know. I think I've done it about 15,000 miles before I knew about the ball bearing mod. And it works. If you don't take the tensioner out, you can still replace the spring in the ball bearing. So if you want to replace just the spring without removing the tensioner, that is also possible. That's even easier to do. If you don't want to take the tension off the back of the engine, that's fine. New spring. Ball bearing in the cap. do up the cap, and that will also do the same. So I hope this helps anybody. I apologise if my video is a bit ropey, the light's not too clever. And that's your modification fixed, and it'll go on for a long while like that. If the rattle does return after a few thousand miles, I would strongly recommend just replacing the spring again. I'm at 26,000 miles now, and I will probably, at 30,000 miles, I will redo the mod. I will basically replace the spring, and it should be good to go again. So the answer is, there is nothing wrong with this design. It just needs a bit of thought. When it needs maintenance, that's what it actually needs. In the Suzuki manual, there is no maintenance schedule for the tensioner. There needs to be maintenance on the timing chain tensioner, which is to check it, inspect it, make sure it's okay, and to replace the spring periodically with the ball bearing modification, and you won't have any problems. I'm sure there's other people on the page who will say, no, they're rubbish, go with a manual one. Well, if you want to go with a manual one, go with a manual one. It's your choice. Personally, I wouldn't bother. This is fine.